I've interviewed over 60 women, and the first even summit I did was called Stuck, and it was like 14 women ages 16 to 70 something telling me a time in their life when they felt stuck. And one of them was married to a very charismatic man. When he stepped into a room, the whole room paid attention, and she was the same, although in his presence, you know, she just stepped back to let him basically outshine her, if you will. And when he died, for 3 years, she just sort of walked in a fog until her son sat her down and said, Mom, this has to stop. And she's like, I better pay attention because I don't know what he's talking about, but he'd never talk to me like this unless something was really wrong here.
Right.
Like, well, I knew where his soul was. You know, she wasn't having a major depression or spiritual crisis over her husband dying. What she had done in her digging deeper was she had given 50% of herself to him, to the marriage, and hadn't called it back in, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was cool once that clicked off for her, and then she actually knew what she wanted to do, and it just slowly blossomed for her a little bit.
You know, the thing is this, Linda, it doesn't matter what the story is or how long it took for someone to reach that 360-degree back to self.
Right.
It always happens. You always get that opportunity to get back to self. That's what life is really about. You know, everyone thinks that life is about everything outside of themselves. It's actually not. It's about everything that emanates from you. The reality around you just shifts according.
Yep.
To what it is that you're doing. And so you got to understand that self is that is such an important place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's about choices and having that guide to guide you back to, for lack of better words, your ability to have choices, and pointing out that you're denying yourself personal choice.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's the thing about reality is people get caught up looking outside of themselves. They neglect to make choices. They neglect to understand what their personal preferences are. They neglect tending to self. In other words, taking that small time out to feed their own personal emotions and to sit there and entertain thoughts regarding the future about desires that they may have. And that's why, you know, when you mentioned building intention as one of the next steps, you start understanding personal preference, which gives you the ability to start building an intention. And I like to use the word a more deliberate intention, because you're deliberately putting it together for self and the best version of who you can become.
Right.
And so quite often I give people the task of 3 short-term preferences and 3 long-term preferences. And the reason why we do this is because most people don't think that far ahead and won't go to 3. They'll think of 1 on either end of the scale and kind of choose it and walk away. I'm not saying that to people. I say, you know, choose 3 short-term preferences that you can reach within 3 months.
Nice.
And just hold that as an intention. In other words, be very deliberate about what that is.
Yeah.
Even if it's a minute thing, like you want to see your lounge different. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to rearrange it in paints and just set it into an environment that's a little bit more stimulating for you. That's a short-term preference. Mm-hmm. But it has to have an action plan based on it, which means that within 3 months you want to have seen yourself reaching it. Mm-hmm. And then the long-term preference is something down the line. It's how you would like to see yourself in the future. What position would you like to be in? Now, as soon as you hold an intention, an objective, a goal that you want to reach, and you give it thought on a deliberate basis time and time again, the interesting thing is this: reality begins to shift towards that intention. And the reason why it shifts towards that intention is because you're holding a vibration regarding it, which means reality universe, whatever you want to look at, is now including that vibration. Whereas in the beginning of this discussion, we were talking about negative rhetoric in your brain. And if that's what you're vibrating, that's what you're getting. And it's evident in life, because if you look at the life around you, you say, oh my goodness, look at how out of control everything is. Look at how dysfunctional everything is. Look at how toxic everything is. And that's just because of where you were thinking. And so what you want to be doing is very specifically moving yourself towards a different picture. It's a process. There's steps. There's steps that you have to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate learning from you, and especially this one, because I noticed that if I'm working with clients who are like setting goals with objectives and all this measurable stuff, and they're not attaining it, it's actually because they haven't set their intention, their preferences, and they are not in touch with what they are, which is what we've been talking about the whole time, really.
Yeah, well, another way to, sorry to interrupt you, but another way to put that is they're not in vibrational alignment to the desire that they have. Yeah. Now, what's interesting about that is that if your personal vibration doesn't match the desire can't be there. It can't come because it's got an opposite polarity. It's actually pushing away rather than coming in.
Yep.
And so this is where kind of faith comes in, where you say, that's my desire, but that's what I want. This is what I'm reaching for. I really want that. I see myself having it. Now, if you look at the thoughts that I'm using there, those thoughts are leading towards positive outcome. So in other words, I don't have the vibration of, gee, I wonder if I'll really get it. I hope that it comes because I'm not sure. Maybe the universe is going to be good and give me what it is I want. I might be lucky. Those have a vibration attached to doubt. And so vibrationally, you cannot let in something that you want that's got a higher vibration into something where you've got a lower vibration about it.
Right.
And so often people are holding themselves back from the very thing that they want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always good to be with you.
Same here.